Everybody see that?
Yep.
All right, so we went through greetings and introductions. Let me go page down here. So Brian, I didn't get anything from you. Hang on, I gotta get my focus right. There we go. I did carry forward your plea for up to make, just double checking the ARRL eligibility lists. And is there anything you want to share or
That would that would be it. That
okay?
would be my whole pitch. Is with the ARRL, we do have to provide a members list, and if you could kindly go to the list and make sure that I have all of your correct information, especially if you changed call sign in the last few months. Um, Drop me an email and let me know, and I'll get it updated.
Okay.
Other than that, life at the Hotel California.
So there's the link. It's in the club. You go to the contest.arrl.org and it's under the club's listing. Just double check it. So that grid square we derive from your roster information. If you've moved over the years or stuff like that, yeah, it is useful. Just take a look at that site and let us know what you see. If it's okay, that's great. I also noticed, Brian, I did check the past couple of contests, and they haven't been kicking anybody out like they were last year. If you remember, we had a lot of issues with people clearly within the club radius were being dumped. None of that is happening this year now, so I don't know what's changed in that respect. That's good news for us. They were disallowing members call contest scores for our club. So, all right, that's it for the secretary report. So really nothing to vote on there. So we'll move forward. All right, Bob, you are up. I've got your two slides here. We'll go right to the important one.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is a quiet time in the year, basically fall into winter. So only $647 in dues, $645 really, with $2 of interest. So $647 in, and then as far as the money out, also very little, $130. That was sponsorship for two plaques for RTTY contests. The majority of the plaque fees have already been paid for CQ and CQ Worldwide WPX. $15 annual fee to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for registration. And then everybody who uses PayPal, they take a small chunk of each contribution that comes in. So 647 in, 159 out. And like the US Treasury, there's a window in the year where we're taking in briefly more than what actually goes out. Most of the rest of the time, unfortunately, we're spending more than we actually take in, which is an issue, of course, that Ken will get into. But
Yep.
that's pretty much it. 4,333 in the Treasury as of January 21st. Nothing really to speak of in the last 10 days. And then will be our push to get members to pay up for the year or more than 1 year. So that's where we're at. Any questions, Ken or anybody else?
Nope. All right, so let's just continue right along this path. You may have seen my articles in the newsletter. Bob and I had taken a look at it. So income versus fiscal year, this was something that Chet had started because Chet was starting to raise some alarm bells. And now since Bob has taken over, it's gotten worse. So let's go through some of this stuff. I realize this graph's a little bit hard, but our income this year was 3775. This was the year we gave people a free year. We added basically 1 year, the COVID year, to everybody's membership. We still took in $2,500 that year. So it's a little bit of an anomaly. So after COVID, we bumped it back up to 3,500. That would have been the fiscal year 2021. 3280, 2752, and then last year was 2590. Now we had budgeted, Bob and I had created a budget of approximately $2,500 for the year, anticipating this kind of income. The issue is, to date, we've only gotten $976, was it, or $75 of that 2,500. I've come to realize we'd run a fiscal year that's July 1st to June 30th, in a membership year, which is January 1st to December 31st. It actually, that split, that difference actually helps us focus things like dues collection a little bit better. So we are at the beginning of the year. Normally we'd expect a lot of renewals start, rolling in January, February, March. But to date, like I said, against our forecast, so this is a forecast of 2,500, we've only collected 975. So, what do you get for your membership value? Well, basically, meetings like this, connection of a group of like-minded individuals. I don't have to read all of this to you. Basically, though, we're trying to quantify why would you join the club and why would you pay dues. Some of this stuff costs money. We do have meetings, some pictures. This was from Gene's a couple of years back over in the lower left-hand corner. Some of these other ones was from a get-together at Mark's many, many years ago, and I don't know what meeting that is depicted there, when we used to have live meetings, standing room only. Again, part of our expenses as the plaques, as Bob has mentioned, they've gone from like $50 a plaque to about an average of $65 per plaque in recent years. We sponsor 13 different plaques around the community. These were some recent winners of plaques that we sponsored. They oftentimes send a letter and a picture. We do, as an organization, attempt to manage a scholarship. We'll talk more about this later. Giving out scholarships since 2010. Of course, we've had a little bit involvement with the WRTC over the years. A lot of you remember the WRTC 2014, where we put significant efforts into that to make all the stations happen. And of course, we've been contributing financially for many years to the different WRTC functions. We have made one donation to the UK guys. We need to make another one this year. So in general, the WRTCs are shaping up to be at least, if they worked out like I would expect them, we're doing regular contributions for the 4 years into the run-up, which might be $2,000, $2,500 when all is said and done. We've supported generously the WWROF in the past. And as you can see, they're taking over a lot more functions that were formerly done by the CQ magazine. And so they're going to be, go ahead.
I'm online.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Okay. So these are some of the areas that your dues go into. We think they're worthwhile entities. So, if we kept our dues at $15 a year, we would need on a yearly basis some 200, we run about $4,000 in expenses a year when all is said and done. We'd need about 250, 260. You could do the math there to generate those kind of revenues. The things with the dues income stream is it's very inconsistent. Some people will renew for 5 years. Some people renew, some people don't renew. If at $25, we'd need like about 160 people paying dues on a yearly basis, which actually, that number kind of rings true. It's kind of the amount of renewals we get in a year that would fund the ongoing operations. So as a result, we do require a 2/3 vote a super quorum vote of the club and a 30 days notice. So this is your first notice. So the April meeting will be the first meeting we talk to it, but we are talking about going to $25, which would be an easy strike. I got some feedback from some members last night that maybe we should evaluate those other categories of friend of YCCC and family and things like that, youth. I'll work with the officers to take a look at those, see if there's any other changes we want to make in this section. So here's the plan. So you got your first announcement in the February newsletter. First vote would be the April meeting. We really do have to do a better job at trying to contact members who are not dues current. And, you know, as you've seen in past constitution changes, it usually takes several meetings to get a quorum. And if you vote in favor, would target July 1st for a dues increase. So if you renew now, you get to beat the dues increase. All right, any discussion? Open for slings and arrows at this point.
So what I heard was it's all Bob's fault.
Nice.
If we're
I'm not
making
sure.
changes to the bylaws, would it be possible to also look into approving new members easier instead of having them come to come to a meeting, or is that not an option?
Well, interesting you bring that up because the officers have been kicking around changing the onboarding requirements instead of doing the vote thing, like you said. You know, submit your application and submit, you know, 2.5 million points worth of scores, something like that. And that's how the BCC does it, right? So there are different ways to onboard people. But I don't think we can, you know, I don't think we have the cycles to try to tackle that at this point.
Yeah, this is Jerry. So I actually support increasing the dues. I think it's a good idea. I belong to other organizations that are not radio related, and we're all suffering. I think this is like the fallout of the COVID lockdowns in terms of participation in meetings and attendance and in support of organizations. So this is pretty common thing to do. I think you're doing a reasonable job. You publish a budget, what we're spending the money on, and I understand the income thing. You know, everybody's challenged to bring in more money when doesn't seem to be much more money to bring in.
Thank you, Jerry.
You know, we do a lot of things, and and now in terms of the dues, so I'm one of those people who's delinquent in dues. So my excuse was I had seen something about dues changing, so I held off. After we get off this call, I'll send my money in PayPal. Sorry, Bob, but I think if you just sent out an email reminder to people to look at that link, maybe in this, you know, you probably did it in December and I ignored it then, but do it a couple of times. That's what our local club does, and it seems to work. So you don't have to send out an individual dunning notice. If you send out the thing and people are really interested, after 2 or 3 times they'll pay, or they won't, and you know you're never going to get them back. That's our local club's experience.
Mhm.
You know, I'm in another club on Cape Cod. They actually send an invoice out to each member in January, but I don't like the idea of getting an invoice from a radio club, but it reminds you that dues are due, and they do pretty well collecting dues.
Yeah.
I will say I'm a member of the Billerica Club, and they do the same thing. They actually use a mechanism in PayPal that automatically does, well, it doesn't automatically. They have to load an email address list and then hit a button, create a message that they want to go along with the message. But you get a message from PayPal that says, "Hey, by the way, your dues are due." The first one I ever got was little disconcerting. I had to go make sure it was real. It was a year ago. It was. And the treasurer reports that he's never had such a high rate of dues payments ever since he tried that method. So the Barica clubs had good luck with stuff like that.
Let's not do the PayPal thing. Seriously, I get those messages all the time. They're all fraud. I've never gotten a legitimate one. And
You can tell it's legitimate, but
well, yeah. If you know you're a member of the
I
club,
did
it's
double
legitimate,
check.
but-
They gave no warning that they were going to do that. But all right, message heard. Don't do the.
Yeah, I just actually literally 5 minutes ago paid my dues because I said, well, gee, I wonder if I'm up to date. So I'm up to date, but if we raise the dues, which I think is a good idea, I'll kick in 2 years worth of the difference as a donation. I guess I have one other question. It seems to me that raising the dues is a basic and fundamental enough thing that it really shouldn't involve a bylaw change. Is there any way we can also,
Yeah.
particularly with the need for the supermajority and voting stretching across, half a year's worth of meetings? Is there any way we can fix that?
Initially I thought we didn't have to touch the Constitution. I thought, it gave us the authorization, but then, actually reading it, it's like, oh, damn, we actually do call out the dues rates. So, I can review that with the directors, but I guess this would be the most accurate source for what the dues are. I don't know. We'll take that into consideration.
Okay.
Jack,
Ken, when was
Yeah.
the last time we raised dues?
So in fact, we were trying to research that last night. I tend to believe we actually used to be 20 and we lowered them to 15 at some point. And in 2001, we had the split dues where it was $20 if you got a paper butt and $15 if you got a digital butt. So that's probably what I'm remembering. And then over time, we just eliminated the $20 category because we're not sending out paper butts anymore. So, so that's all I could find on a quick search.
Okay, I think it's not worth I mean, it would be nice to clean things up so we didn't have to go through this with a dues increase. But I expect that the next dues increase is going to be far enough in the future that it's kind of not worth spending the effort.
Spending the effort to change the bylaw?
To change the bylaws such that we don't have to do this, which would require going through another constitutional amendment.
Right.
And delay this for some number of months. I mean, it's probably going to be 5 or 10 years before we even think about having to do this again.
Roger that. Okay, good input.
hey, Jack, can I be here?
Yep. What's up, Dave?
Yeah, David K1MT. I am on the YCCC site looking for where you send your dues into or how you do it. I just heard that you won't accept, the club won't accept PayPal. So I'm trying to figure out how I can pay it.
Dave, that's not true.
That's not true.
We certainly do accept PayPal.
Oh, great.
And, we've actually published the instructions several times in Scuttlebutt, and of course, always accept checks as well. So either method works. Obviously, checks, there's no fee, but if it's more convenient to pay via PayPal, that's always welcome. And it's easy enough to do. And in addition to the Scuttlebutt, I've posted several times the actual detailed instructions. The one caveat being that you can't just type in YCCC because unfortunately there are other YCCCs out there where the money would not go to us. So you actually have to type in Yankee Clipper, and then usually the rest will come up, Yankee Clipper Contest Club, and then click on that, and that gets the money to us directly. But what I will do is I'll again send another group email out to the YCCC, at groups.io reflector, just again making it very clear that yes, we do accept it. The links work. just follow the instructions accordingly.
Bob, what about simply putting a big button on the club page?
We could
Yeah,
do
why
that.
why do we not publish this on the dues page of the website?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
too
Well,
easy.
it is there, but you've got to hunt for it. And so I was going to suggest to make it a little more prominent, maybe. It is there, but it took me a while to find it.
Under crew.
Yeah,
Go
under
to
crew,
dues.
under crews and dues. It's there. But, you know, some of us are old and don't read the fine print. So
But
maybe
there's
if you make it more
We
prominent.
should just,
Yeah,
we should put a
I'm on
we should
that
have a
page.
hyperlink.
I'm on that page and it does not mention PayPal.
Yeah,
Well, it
does.
says or PayPal, but it doesn't say.
Yeah, it doesn't say which those
Okay.
instructions are.
Anyway, when Bob puts his instructions out, I'll put it on this page because
That's a
it's
perfect
a great
solution.
comment that was made. It should be here.
Well, go
Yep.
beyond the instructions. PayPal provides gazillions of links. Some of them are giant yellow buttons. So make it as easy for people as possible. Who reads instructions?
Nobody here.
I might go so far as to suggest that it be a nice big yellow button on the home page.
Exactly.
Can I make a suggestion? I'm just listening to you guys talk. For those people that do use PayPal, I'm unmuted, right? Okay. For those that do use PayPal, can you set up a auto renewal so that it automatically renews if they choose to do so?
Look into
I don't
that.
know if that's possible. Certainly we'll look into that.
Might be worth looking into.
If it's a business account, if this PayPal account is business, yes, you can do that.
This way you wouldn't have to chase people if they choose to auto renew automatically.
Yeah, I like the idea. Certainly that simplifies it for everybody. Or I should say everybody that wants to take advantage of a feature like that.
Okay. Good suggestion. Thanks.
Hey, Phyllis. Hello.
Hello, who's that? Any other comments? Okay, excellent. All right, so you've seen it. So first vote will be April meeting. All right. Moving on, just a quick review. You know, this is what a typical year stacks up like for the meeting schedule. Really, in the reality is the only hard ones are going to be the April 5th, the August 23rd. October 4th and December 6th would be the traditional weekend meetings. The Ham Expo will be a live meeting.
Hey, Phyllis. This is John.
Urge you all to attend that.
I'll try and get you later. Bye.
And you know, we'll also, as around the contest, like we've been doing the past couple of years, maybe have some focused learning sessions and stuff like that, which work out really well. All right, what else? Okay, let's talk about the scholarship next. All right, so we've been trying to award a scholarship. We used to run a raffle, a live meeting. Ed, K1EP, would collect lots of money selling raffle tickets. In the last couple of go-arounds back in the teens, meeting attendance was dropping off and it was taking forever to sell the requisite number of tickets. So we kind of lost our scholarship funding approach there. Made a call last year for direct donations, either through the club or directly to the ARL Foundation. We collected some $110, which has flowed through to the foundation, which puts our current value at $175. So i.e. we missed 2025 scholarship cycle, so we won't be awarding one this year. Let's talk a little bit about the student. It's a little bit of a little gun shy around the whole foundation thing because of an issue that had happened many years ago and took several years to resolve. Initial look, we saw the first time we saw anything was in the September Q Street. Young woman, Annika Wong from California. So the initial reaction was, oh, Moyen, they screwed us up again. But we did some digging with some help of Tom K1KI, and he was able to find the link of her blog for MIT. And unfortunately, I will admit, I spent several hours reading some of her posts, some of them which were quite emotional. I think she lost a close friend recently. She's quite an accomplished artist. She's a crazy ham. She found her way up to the club station at MIT. But you might ask, did she search us out, or how did she come by getting awarded the YCCC scholarship? So I don't have all the detail here, but the league has transitioned. The foundation has transitioned to using this program called Kaleidoscope. If you've ever written a review for anybody, you probably had to submit it through that application. I know I did. I actually used it. So I was poking around it, but basically it does a first pass. And Tom, you can jump in at any time if you want to add detail here, but it does a first pass of matching. Do they meet all our requirements? We have what's known as terms of requirements on file for awarding of our scholarship. And they either must live or be attending a university in basically the club circle area. And they must be younger than some age, i.e. they must be a college student. She actually meets all the requirements. If you haven't found your way there, I actually want to show you.
For how long?
Page.
Well,
give me 1 second. This. So this is her blog on Radio Nerd Shenanigans. She explains how she got into ham radio. Basically, during COVID, she sat down, read a book, and went and took the test and passed. This picture, this stylized picture, I think might be her own artwork. She has some funny stories about finding the club and some of the goofy things that teenagers do. Now, this is some of her artwork here, which just blows me away. Very stylized. And then she's actually now trying to design new QSL cards for the MIT Radio Club. See a lot of this style artwork in her blogs. Just really, really fantastic. So, I think I get the impression that this is a course requirement where they must do a blog. There's a lot of other MIT grads there, but still, she does a fantastic job. She's studying magnetism and things like that. Looking at one of her other blogs, it looks like the research that she's doing might improve, like your cell phone charging on a non-wire cell phone charging, so stuff like that. So, anyway, just wanted to share that with you. So, as a result, I'm pretty energized trying to figure out how the heck do we get some funds into the thing, but I am looking for a volunteer to run it. So with that,
Okay, I'm not volunteering, but something I've seen other organizations do. There's probably one or two other people in my category. We're over 70 and a half, and we have IRAs, and sometimes we can use qualified charitable distribution
UCDs.
to
Yeah. I talk about that in the Scuttlebutt article.
Oh, you did? Okay, I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
skipped over that. But maybe that's another thing to consider how you want to do it. Do you want to send that money to the Treasury directly, or do you want to send it to the league directly? I would recommend sending it to our treasurer because I trust Bob to control it more than I can trust the league to control it.
Yeah, pretty sure. Well, you'd have to work with your financial advisor. The QCDs, as they're known as, would have to flow probably. Well, we are a 501c3, so I'm not 100% sure.
It'll work. No, it works. I do this for other charitable things. I've been doing it. Unfortunately, I've had to be doing it for a few years, and it's a good way of contributing and avoiding paying federal tax on some of the money when you donate it.
Yep, very good. Thank you, Jerry. I do call that out in the write-up. If you could check that out in the scuttlebutt. And anyway, like I said, any other discussion here?
Yeah, Ken, I just want to mention, and Jerry, thank you for the suggestion, which Ken has also put out there. The key thing with the QCDs is that the money passes directly from the IRA custodian or trustee directly to the charitable organization. So you're correct. If it were to go directly from, if it was a Fidelity or Schwab or any other financial institution directly from them to YCCC, it would qualify as the donation. And absolutely anyone who's considering that should speak with their financial and or tax advisor to find out the best way to accomplish that. But yeah, there shouldn't be any issue at all now that we meet the category, 501c9 organization accepting a 501c3 contribution.
Okay, thank you. Just some further clarification around this Kaleidoscope utility. So that provides a first level of match for the foundation board members. Then they actually look at, there's some 130 or so scholarships awarded each cycle. So then they actually take a look at those matches and make adjustments as necessary. For instance, if somebody in the YCCC club actually applied for it, I'm presuming they would catch that and award it to like Marty in the past, All right, so that's all I had to say about scholarships at this time. Is K1JB out here? Get that guy to attend a meeting. Okay. Let's see. All right, at this point, do a traditional competition update. So we're pretty much done with reviewing the nuts and bolts of the clubs. Now here's our primary purpose, participating in the club competition efforts. So this was in the newsletter, just a quick summary of where we showed up. Some of the majors, CQWW is 2023. They haven't published the final results for 2024 yet. Right, Randy? Am I correct there? So anyways, this is the 2023 results. It looks like, so that was 8 consecutive number 2 results, FRC being on top. And then, the 2024 running looks like provisionally, well, Mike will talk to that. So we did actually squeak out somehow the 2024 CQWPX, but nobody sponsored the plaque, so I didn't get a plaque from my wall here. And you can see some of the surprises. The CQWW RIDI, apparently we took number 1 in US.
By the way, the guy who runs the WPX plaque program is a
Yeah.
YCCC member, and
Yeah.
I know that he is happy to provide you a plaque if you send him money.
Sponsor it. Exactly.
And he'll even make up a sponsor for you if you feel bad about sponsoring your own plaque.
All right, thank you. This was the new ARL digital contest. No, which one was it? Oh no, the WW Digi Contest 2024. With 10 entries, we took that.
Yeah.
really driven by
We got a
chaos.
plaque. We did receive the plaque
Oh, for what?
for the WW Digi contest.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
And I think it's amongst the stuff that the restoration company has to save. So
Oh, okay. Okay, didn't know that. Right, no problem. No problem. All right, any comments about this? All right, so let's just quickly look at the results. It's a format that a lot of you have seen from Mike that he pulls together after the majors. We actually haven't gone public with the CW results, but he's going to just show us the side CQWW sideband and then CQWW CW just very quickly. Mike,
Okay. All
you
right.
want
Let me
take
figure
the
out how to
screen?
share the screen. Let's see. Where do you go to share? Where do you go to share the screen?
Yeah, big green button right in the center down at the
Big
bottom.
green button right in the center. Okay. Got it. All right. So it's this screen. Does everybody see it?
Not yet.
Nope.
Yeah.
How about now?
There we
Oh,
go.
yeah, yep, got it.
Okay, so we got CQ WW sideband assessment. All right, let's go through this quick. Same format. I try to be consistent. We were second for sideband. What really, I don't know what to say. We mostly, everybody did assisted. Let me just go to the last slide. We basically, FRC showed up and played hard. They played consistent. If you look at the slide I'm looking at now, they're the red line. They just kept guys going and going and going throughout, whereas us being the blue line, we had a few high scores and then we just dropped out and kind of didn't show up. So they kicked butt by getting more operators and more BIC. They ran assisted, and they had a lot of operators running assisted high power. We and PBRC were mostly high power unassisted ops. And that's kind of what I'm showing here. You know, we had a lot of high power unassisted, more than they did. I mean, FRC, it's very small. And just didn't generate the points. No one seemed to operate low power because in a sideband contest to Europe, low power really is not going to cut it. And the single band ops seemed to be kit by folks who just wanted to fool around and generate a few queues. I mean, if you look at the breakdowns, single band people were pretty small. So FRC did well. And the exact same story happened for CW. FRC cleaned everybody's clocks and PBRC came in last. But they had the most amount of people showing up, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Again, they showed up, FRC showed up, they played hard, they played consistent. I mean, we had some phenomenal numbers. I mean, I think this is Krasi over here. But after that, our guys didn't stay in the contest and didn't have a lot of BIC to generate points. The exact same bullets as last time. So if you want to win these contests, we need to show up. And since it's coming up, the one thing we did do pretty well in was this was CQ RIDI. Randy was number 2 single op high band. I was number 10 single op low band, non-assisted.
Low power.
But overall, this is not a club this is not a contest our club cares about. And again, this time, this is where PBRC really shows up. They show up, they play hard, they stay in, and other than Randy and I, nobody really seemed to want to play.
So what are we looking at? This is the WPX RIDI 2024?
This is WW RIDI, Worldwide RIDI 2024, yes. WPX RIDI is next weekend, and I plan to put in a single low power SO2R op. But we won't have, I mean, Randy right here was number 2 in the world, and Randy's going to be operating on a wire from Ohio, right, Randy?
Not yet.
That is the plan.
Probably watching the Super Bowl towards the end.
Somebody could come use my station, but it's only half of it's going to be here.
So I mean, I know we're mostly a CW club, but I can't say we didn't really. Nobody put in the effort for the CW contest, it looked like.
Hmm.
Other than a few, like I said, we had a few big scorers here, and then it just kind of petered out. I've talked to the PVRC guy. They don't really care about this contest. They're all about RIDI and WPX.
Yeah.
So, in a nutshell, that's contesting.
Okay,
Need
so
to show up.
this is a little unusual though, because we showed that we took RIDI to CQWW RIDI 2023, #1 in the US. I think it was like #3 in the world or something like that. But this year we didn't show up, is what you're saying.
Pretty much.
Okay.
I again blame Bob. I think he's responsible for all these evils.
Hey,
Okay.
Mike,
Yeah.
if you wouldn't mind, can you go back to the first breakdown by percentage, high power, low power,
In
and
CW?
so on? We'll start with phone because that one comes first. Not the bar chart, but the actual percentages, because I think at a glance that really shows the difference. Okay, so let's look at this. There's a massive difference of high power FRC ops versus YCCC sideband ops. I don't understand why that number should be so large, but that's a huge difference right there, especially if you're at a modest or a really, tiny station
Little
with
pistol.
small antennas. The differences in score and multiples between low power and high power is just really very striking. So, I mean, FRC gets it right. 63% high power, that's where it should be, or even higher than that. You could literally probably increase the club score by 50% if 70% of the guys in the club operated high power. Because the few large contributors are responsible maybe for half the score, but the other half of the score is being made by predominantly low power stations who could do a lot more very easily. So that's the first thing that jumps out at me. That's a huge, huge difference right there in club score. The second, obviously, is number of hours on the air or butt and chair, of course. And then the third is the actual operating, people operating the right hours as opposed to just the hours. If people are operating a night on 40 and 80 and 160 on sideband, they may be making 1/5 to 1/10 the points per hour they could with that same hour on 10 in the daytime or 15 in the daytime. So I think there are a lot of easily solved issues here, but it's getting the membership to really understand that and get on. We easily could have 253 or 300 million points with guys in the club doing their operating a bit differently. And, I understand there are HOAs and some people create, interference. You have to take that account, but still, it's not just the hours, it's how the hours are spent and by whom and in what categories and how they go about doing it, as well as being more aggressive. I think this jumps out at me more than the numbers did on CW, but CW is probably similar as well. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so
same CW.
Yeah. Now you'll notice that while there's still a huge gap, there's still a large difference. 61% FRC versus 53% YCCC. That's enough probably to make 20-30% difference right there. So I'm not understanding why YCCC, with a fair amount of real estate in most cases, the percentage of high power stations is only 53%.
And I'm willing to wager, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but a lot of these low power stations are probably the single band guys.
That's very possible, sure. Well, that's another issue too, which has been discussed at length in the past, and I know, interestingly enough, when FRC was coming in second to YCCC every year, there was a very high number or a very high percentage of operations that were single band operations. And those guys were getting a lot of flack from other people within the club. Hey, what are you doing going single band 40? That's not really helpful. Single band 40 on sideband, that is. Or why are you doing single band 10 meters when 10 meters is only open 5 hours a day? So that's actually quite a shift for them from the single operator, single band, now into probably what went to either all band or all band high power. So let's call that unused potential at their club, a lot of which now they've dealt with. And while our single band percentage is thankfully fairly low, that certainly can be improved too. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is, while it's an individual decision whether guys go single band or they go all band, there's no question of what kind of difference in score that makes in a contest when we have a fairly good sized chunk of people going single band versus all band, or even better, all band high power. Maybe they could make 10 times the score they would make. And then if 20 guys do that in the club, there's another 10 to 20 million points right there.
All right,
Yeah.
got it. All right.
These numbers are going to take a big hit when Randy leaves, because Randy is, one of these guys over here, and that's just going to go away.
Well, that gets back to the multis, right? So if you go back in time to when Don was president and Jeff were president, you had two differences between then and now. First of all, you had higher participation levels, which we're all aware of. And the second is that the points per operator was more significant then, or let me express it this way. The points per operator as a percentage of the single op winning score was much higher then than it is now. And that actually takes out the score inflation, which has resulted in increasing scores over time. We can't just compare a score then versus a score now, because the possibility of achieving higher scores is much greater now, because European activity levels are far greater now than they were, 20 years ago. But so the difference was, the single op guy doing single band or limited hours, low power, he had a higher percentage of score versus the winning single op then than what you would see now. And that's because, frankly, a lot of the guys then who had modest stations were doing multis within the club. Back in 2000 or 2002, 2003, thereabouts, you had on any given contest weekend in CQR wide anywhere between 8 to like 13 or 14 multi-twos, multi-singles, and multi-multis within YCCC. It was an amazing level of activity.
Yeah.
And as a result, guys, instead of making average scores of 50K or 100K, were, getting average points per member of maybe 500 or 750K, in some cases even larger than that. And, you get 50 or 100 guys on in the club doing that, there's an extra 50 million points easily. Plus, I think in most cases they had a lot more fun too, although it is certainly more convenient to stay home. So that continues to be an issue. FRC has always done a lot of multis. They continue to do multis. They're fully aware of the point differentials that are generated when, especially the guys with, very modest stations or who don't operate all that many hours, suddenly form a multi and go there each weekend, each contest weekend. Whereas, unfortunately, due to deaths or people moving away,
Let me mute this.
YCCC has lost a lot of that over the years. I really think that's where a lot of our focus should be, is somehow encouraging, help building up multi-stations to get the the less active guys or the less well-endowed single ops over to staffing multis. And that will fix a lot of the disparities with FRC, I believe.
Okay, all right, Bob, we have to wrap this here. Dennis, I'm sorry, I just saw your note now. You still with us?
He and I already exchanged text messages, so we're swapping our sessions.
Oh, okay, so he's gonna come back?
Yeah, he will.
Okay. All right, message heard, high power if you can, multis if you can. That's where the remote mode is coming into vogue. So with that, all right, Mike, thanks for sharing that. We're starting to get used to this format and understanding what we're looking at.
How do I get out of sharing the screen?
Right at the top,
Ah.
stop share. Top of your Zoom screen.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
All right,
Huh.
I could just replace you.
Yeah,
All
replace
right.
me.
All right, area manager reports. I know we've been cheating a little bit here in Eastern Mass. We've been having combined area meetings, Boston, the Northeast Mass area, Rhode Island, and Southeast Mass all been getting together at Ted's. It's a good time. They're useful because they will tolerate individual checks. I know, John, you had a recent meeting. Any other meetings planned in New York? John's still here.
Yes, we will probably have one after the ARRL meetings or contests, and I have them probably every other month.
Yeah, it's great. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it.